Hi, this is Sean from Time and Talk. Today I thought I'd make a video about my newest acquisition, which is a CWC G10 military watch. We'll just discuss a little bit of the history of the company, this watch itself. I'll just give you some of my opinions really on what I think of the watch. CWC stands for the Cabo or Cabot watch company. Not quite sure how to pronounce it. And they were founded in 1972 by a guy called Ray Meller, who was actually the ex director of Hamilton, which is quite interesting. And they were founded specifically in order to produce military watches. So that was the whole raison d'etre of the company, if you like. In 1980, this particular model, which is called the G10, was released. And for the first few years, this model was called the Fat Boy. It had the nickname the Fat Boy, which is essentially because the movement at the time was the ESA 936.121, and it was thick, quite thick, so the cases had to be thick to accommodate it, hence the nickname the Fat Boy. When I was originally researching this watch and deciding which one to buy, etc., I didn't actually understand why that was, and I was looking at the watch thinking, this looks identical to all the others, why is it called the Fat Boy? So it was good to have that cleared up when I was doing research for this video. These watches were issued from 1980 to 2008 approximately to the British military, and apparently now it's a Seiko, which is quite often issued to the military. I can't remember which reference number, but it must be because of maybe cost-cutting measures meant they couldn't stump to these watches anymore. They're not expensive by any means, but they no longer issue them to the military, which is a shame really, because they're really cool watches, I think. So in terms of some of the specs, first of all, I've got a new gadget, so I'll show you the dimensions. It's pretty useful, this, actually, because it sometimes when you buy a watch, it doesn't give you the true dimensions, if you like. So including the crown, the case measures 38.35 millimeters. Without the crown, a bit fiddly here, it's about 36, just over 36. Lug to lug, the watch is 41.78 millimeters, which is quite small really. The depth, the thickness of the watch is just over 10 millimeters, 10.1 millimeters. And the lug width of the watch is just over 19 millimeters, which is quite interesting really, because if you've ever looked into these watches, I couldn't really find the lug width, and on eBay, etc., some of the straps that claim to be sold for this watch are 18, and some of them are 20. I'd put a 20 on it, and I think that's probably better, because if it's too small, it'll look a bit naff. But okay, so some of the specs: it's tritium, the lume's tritium. It still works actually. But my understanding was the tritium, the half-life is 12.5 years, so it should be all gone by now. But it does still work, whether it's been, I don't know, repainted or whatever. It's got an acrylic crystal. It's got fixed bars, which I didn't know when I bought it, but it makes perfect sense given the fact that it's a military watch. You don't want to be messing about with leather straps, etc. It's got a battery hatch for ease of change of battery in the field, which is pretty cool. It's 50 meters water resistant, so I wouldn't swim with it, but it'll be fine if you get, washing the dishes or whatever, you get some water on it. You can still buy them. They're currently owned by a company called Silverman's, which is a military supply company, but you can still buy them. They're about £200. Incidentally, I bought this for £60 on eBay. The crystal is a little bit smashed. And yeah, I did well, I think, to get it for £60. But tell me what you think. It's time only. It doesn't have a date or anything like that. It's quartz, as you can see from the dial, and it's got a matte case, so it's completely matte all the way around. When I opened this, someone was with me and they said, "Oh, it needs a polish, doesn't it?" And I was thinking, as if you want a shiny watch when you're in the military. Another thing with these watches that is pretty cool is that you have a set of serial numbers on the back. So you may or may not know what these serial numbers mean, but I'll tell you now. So 0552 is in reference to the Royal Navy. So this was issued to someone in the Royal Navy. There are various other serial numbers for the Army, etc. 6645 means it's a timepiece, it's a watch, so that's type of equipment. 99 is the NATO code, NATO country code for the UK. And the number underneath that, 44256, is the issue number. And then 89 is the year of production, year of issue, I imagine. So you can, these watches are pretty good in terms of things like birth year. If you want to buy a birth year watch, I was born in 84. And at the time, I think the Fat Lady was still in existence, so it's slightly more expensive to get one from 1984, but born in 89, 60 quid. So yeah, that's the specs. This is a NATO that I put on it. It's a 20mm NATO, and it fits it fine, to be honest. As we saw, it's just over 19, the lug width, and I think this particular watch, it looks a bit better on a NATO like this, like a military style NATO, if you like. This one has cracks on the crystal, so there's a crack at between 8 and 9 o'clock and a crack at 3 o'clock. I was expecting it to be much worse, to be honest. I don't mind at all, it's got a crack on it. The crystal's also really, really scuffed. You could polish it out with Polywatch, but I think I'm just going to leave it, to be honest. The watch is I really like the way it looks. Simple. Really appropriate for the style of watch it is. Completely legible. The case is dead thin and it wears really well. I just really like the watch. I think it's really interesting. It's got quite a lot of character, but it's really simple at the same time. And it's quite small on the wrist, but that really suits the purpose of this watch. You don't want a watch that you're going to wear in the military, which is going to get in the way. It's going to clatter against things and things like that. You want something that's going to be discreet, but also people talk about tool watches, but this is actually a tool watch. As far as I'm aware, this is actually being used as a tool to tell the time in the field, which is pretty cool. And people also talk about beta watches, and this is an ideal beta watch. The crystal's scratched and smashed, but it doesn't matter, it still looks cool. It's not really about the aesthetics with this watch, to be honest, but it looks cool and it does its job, so well. In terms of the wrist, what it looks like on the wrist, I'll show you a wrist shot. My wrists are 6¼ inches, and this wears pretty small because it's 36mm, but it's also really thin, small lug to lug measurement. But I really like the way it fits on the wrist. There it is. Yeah, I just think they're really cool watches, and a real bargain and something truly interesting for, watch collectors get hung up on these expensive watches, and I do too. But this watch, you could build a collection with just CWC G10s. Collect all the years or all the different aspects of the military and things like that, and it would be a respectable collection. So tell me what you think of this watch in the comments. If you like my channel, please subscribe. Every subscription helps, and thanks for watching.